Hi, everyone. Welcome to Elemental Evolution. We're so glad that you could join us. And tonight, I think we have a special guest coming on, Garrett Fabian, who is specialized in acupuncture and energy, and he's been on a long process of finding himself and helping others. And so it's very exciting to have all this happening. Anyway, again, I guess we're going to start out by doing kind of a grounding, kind of an opening up meditation, kind of bringing everybody into a good space, letting everybody open up to what we're talking about and being in a good vibration. And we're going to kind of send that out and let everybody absorb it up. So I'm going to get started with this. This is actually, it's a guided celestial meditation that a very good friend of mine put together. I'm not sure if she wants me to mention her name or not, so I'll leave that up to her if she calls in. And anyway, so again, we're going to get started with this meditation, and then when it's over, we'll bring out our guest.
Everyone, and welcome. My name is Sarah, also known as Caitlin. This is a meditation that can help to improve astral skills and can also be helpful for people who didn't have astral traveling before. You can use this celestial meditation on a daily basis, or you can use this meditation, just to get. Make yourself ready, and then let's begin. Lay your arms next to your body and relax. Relax your feet. Your lower legs. Your knees. Your upper legs, your hips, relax your belly, Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sarah, also known as Caitlin. This is a meditation that can help to improve astral skills and can also be helpful for people who didn't have astral traveling before. You can use this celestial meditation on a daily basis, or you can use this meditation, just to give it a try. All right, let's begin. Lay down in your bed and make sure you won't be interrupted. If you're afraid of heights, I recommend to do another meditation visualization. Make yourself ready, and then let's begin. Okay. Lay your arms next to your body and relax. Relax your feet. Your lower legs. Your knees. Your upper legs. Your hips. Relax your belly. Your chest. Your neck. Your jaw. Your cheeks. Relax your forehead. And relax your entire head. Back and front. All the way relaxed. Relax your arms. Your hands. The palm of your hands. And your feet. Take a deep and slow breath. Count to 10. And breathe out. Okay. Continue the nice, steady, and calm breathing. Take a deep breath in. Count to 10. And breathe out. Okay. Continue a nice and steady, calm breathing. Now I want you to focus on your mattress. Feel the mattress touching your body. Feel your body press against it. And when you breathe, you will notice and feel the mattress more and more. And just continue to breathe and to feel the mattress. Feel the back of your body touching the mattress. Okay, now I want you to push your body and energy into the mattress, but without moving. Your body lays quiet and very still, almost like it isn't there. Imagine yourself pushing into the mattress. Push as hard as you can. Push yourself into the mattress and then let yourself go. Just relax and relax. And again, push your energy inside the mattress as hard as you can. And let go. And relax. Very calm. Continue with this cycle, and I will tell you later what the next step is. Okay, you're doing very good. Now I want you to breathe very calm and relaxed. Focus on your body touching the mattress and feel yourself pushing down into it in a very calm and comfortable way. No hurry, no worry. Perfect. And now I want you to lift your arm up, and when your arm will touch the mattress, you will visualize that you're laying on a floor made of perfect, clear glass. your arms, lift them up, and lay them slowly down. Perfect. Now you're not laying on your mattress anymore. You're laying on a perfect, clear glass floor. I want you to visualize the universe is below. See the stars and all of their colors. See how beautiful they are and magnificent. And I want you to feel with your mind and your body how deep it is. Miles and miles and miles of depth. You can see it perfectly clear through the glass and continue to breathe. Feel yourself lying on the clear glass floor and visualize a ray of light coming from the depths and into your lower back. And the more the light is touching your lower back, the more you will feel the energy pushing you. Continue with this visualization. Okay, perfect. Now I want you to do something very beautiful. Imagine a seed. Imagine a blue flower seed coming from above, going lower and lower. And imagine the top of the blue seed is going through your belly and lower back, with the top piercing through the perfect clear glass. Very good. And I want you to imagine that the flower starts to open slowly. See the beautiful fluorescent blue raindrops coming out of the flower and falling into the depths of the universe below the glass. Amazing view. And now the flower is born. I want you to imagine a blue fluorescent cord coming out of the depths below you. The cord pierces through the flower, through the glass, through your lower back, and ends at the top of your lower belly. And imagine the blue cord having a very nice tingling sensation. That sensation is a vibration, and that vibration is speaking to you directly. It is the voice of the universe calling you. It reminds you of who you are. It reminds you that you are powerful. It reminds you of all of the gifts you have. And it reminds you to take your celestial powers. And it wants you to never forget how special you are and what your capabilities are. Feel your body laying on that clear glass with that amazing view of the universe, and never forget where you are coming from. Feel the back of your entire body bursting with energetic fire. Feel what you can do and what you have visualized. Remind yourself right now how special you are and what you're capable of. Perfect. Imagine the blue cord softly pulling, little by little. The pull is getting stronger. Feel your body and the cord of love being pulled through the glass, very slowly and calm. Continue with this visualization, calm and comfortable. Now you're in the beautiful depths of space. You can see the stars in all their colors, even more bright than before. You can feel yourself floating as light as a feather. And now it is up to you what you will do in this beautiful place. It's yours, and it has always been yours because it is you. Never forget. Namaste.
Hey guys.
I'd like you to come back into the body and take some deep breaths. So, everyone enjoyed that. And for today, what I'd like to be able to talk about is all of the different natural ways that there are in our society that have been pursued with can actually help us and heal our bodies, help us heal ourselves. Bethany, is there a lot of feedback?
I'm trying to hear you right now. I'm having trouble. Hold on a second.
Hi.
Okay. Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you loud.
Okay. You sound great.
Okay, perfect. Garrett?
I think he said he'll be right back.
Oh, good. Okay. So Garrett, in deals with acupuncture, and he has an experience with one of the things that he talked about in searching and trying, I guess the best way to put it is to put himself or all kind of doing about that we're looking for. So, Garrett. Okay. Garrett, can you hear me? Okay, I guess not. All right, so we're going to try and get him in on the line. Bethany, what's happening with that? It looks like I'm seeing him here.
Yeah, I think he just stepped away from the computer for a minute.
Okay. Does it still sound as bad? Okay. Oh, is that better now? Okay, I feel like I'm still hearing an echo.
I think that's because my computer's turned up too loud.
Oh, good. Okay.
Is that better?
So. Now I hear myself though.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. So today's show is basically about the natural ways that we can heal ourselves, right? It's not about going to somebody and having them do it for us, or, I mean, that doesn't mean that you don't go to a specialist or somebody who knows about those kinds of things so that you can have, like, acupuncture or different things done for you, because that's obviously what they're specialized in and that's what they do, and so they're going to help you. But you don't want to, make that the know-all, get-all, because that's it's a Band-Aid for what's initially causing whatever that is that you need to go to an acupuncturist for. So it's all important, though, in maintaining how our body functions and how we, I guess, are projecting out, and the things that we're storing and all of these types of things. And I think when you're surfacing the skin and you're touching in, no matter what form you're using, and especially probably acupuncture, it is a form of release for you. You're able to tap into it, and maybe at that point do a lot of expression and different things that maybe you wouldn't be able to tap into without that. So that's another important piece of all of this.
Garrett's here now. Hi, Garrett. Right? I think he's here. He said he was here.
I know. I keep seeing him on there, but then I don't hear him.
No, did you unmute? Your mom? Maybe.
No. Hi, Garrett.
Whenever you're here, you can just start talking. If you can hear me.
What is going on with our computers?
I'm here. Hear me?
Oh, good. Yeah. Hi, Garrett.
Hey, how's everyone?
Good.
Doing good. So I'm getting to hear everything twice.
Uh-oh.
At least twice. Yeah.
What is going on with that? Why is that happening?
Are you two, or Bethany and Sherry, are you two in the same room?
No.
No, but it's close enough. What's happening is usually I have a headset on, but we're not able to get this computer to work, and so I can't put the headset on.
Yeah, I can
so that's
see
probably
the
causing a lot of echo.
Yep, that room is pretty echoey.
All right. Well, maybe what I should do is maybe I should relocate.
Oh no, so I don't know.
Okay, so maybe now I don't hear it. No, I still do. All right, so I guess I'm going to try and move into the other room. But so Garrett, maybe it'll be better, like if I can put mine on mute, maybe if you want to talk about a little bit, what I was doing is I was telling people about, kind of what you do with acupuncture and how it is such a healing process, and it's part of, what we've been talking about with healing the body, and maybe giving a better description of when I was talking about actually tapping in through the skin and different areas, pressure points, this and that allow release and different things for the person if that's where they're going, if that's what they're looking for, that kind of thing.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about that and my experience.
Oh, good. So I'm going to mute my phone for a second and relocate, and then when I get into a different place, I'll turn it back on, and then we can. But feel free, just kind of describe what you're doing and how you've got things going, because it's definitely fascinating, and I haven't heard all of it. So.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Garrett. I finished Chinese medical school in 2008. And upon graduation, I went to Asia and traveled to Asia and was part of an effort to open healthcare in Nepal. And in the course of my working there, I treated quite a few patients, a couple thousand people I treated. And what I noticed in treating people there is that a couple of things. One of the main things that I want to highlight is that so many people are focused on finding somebody external to themselves who are going to give them healing. So, for example, when I would be presented with a patient who would have a headache, let's say, which is a very common complaint, as I would put needles in, and through the interpreter I would hear, well, what's on the needles? And I would suggest, well, there's no medicine on the needles. I'm going to put needles in, and you're going to get rid of the headache on your own. And people would laugh. I really do believe they thought that the doctor in front of them, in this case me, was going to quote unquote heal them. And they were curious how the healing was going to occur. And so I would always, because this is very important for me to impart upon the patient, that they themselves are going to actually quote unquote heal themselves, in this case of the headache. So they would actually think I was kidding when I would respond that they themselves were going to do the work. That all the work that would be done to get rid of their headache, in this case, would actually be within their own body. And they really did think I was making a joke in that moment.
Yeah, and that's really, I mean, it sounds like, and I think that you're right. Also, I think people take it that way, but it's not true. Like that, like you absolutely have it exactly right. Like it all has to come from within.
Correct. All I'm there to do is facilitate putting, in this case, needles. It could be anything. It doesn't even need to be needles. It could be talking with them or using my fingers to press on certain places in their body, but it's really just me aligning themselves with themselves, which gives their body and their whole being the capacity to make changes that are necessary.
And I think that's kind of, I think that's kind of what I'm doing as well, with the cellular somatic work. It's not about, the reason you come in and you do a 12-week session is because you are learning how to do it for yourself. There's no dependency or following, or you don't come every week. You don't, it's not about learning something that somebody else can do for you. Right? It's like it really is about learning how to do it for yourself. And that's, sometimes in that process and even in as we're expanding, don't you think that like doing acupuncture and doing other kinds of physical outside of self work, don't you think, that can generate a lot of the inner feelings and kind of push you forward to where maybe you wouldn't have gone if you hadn't proceeded with that?
I agree totally. For example, when today I was giving acupuncture to a bunch of friends here, where I am in Texas today, and again, somebody said, well, I want to deal with anger. Can you heal my anger? And I laughed and said, well, the same thing I would say in Nepal. I'm not going to do anything except open you to yourself and create the space within yourself. You can choose or not choose to do the work.
And that's exactly, and that's, I know that you and I discussed this earlier, but that's, you and I have very similar stories back and forth, and it's like, I used to think when I first started doing this kind of work and I first started really, kind of acknowledging my abilities and this and that, I thought my goal was to come in and actually do healing people and projecting light into them and filling them up and all these things. And what I kept finding is that I would do that, and then in a week or 2 weeks or a month, as soon as something else hit them, they were right back in it. And so that's where, like, again, I began a different search, and that's where I found in the body where it's stored, if you can release that, you pretty much, you stop generating it, and that's where, if you're not adding salt into your wounds constantly, they actually do have time to heal.
Exactly. What I would notice very, very similar things in treating people, in that they might be relieved of the symptom. Again, it could be a headache or whatever, and then they would continue to come back to me for the same thing. And so I know via my own healing that it was always about me, whatever's going on within my own internal landscape. And so as much as I want to offer healing to the person in front of me, it's all about their own emotional, energetic pattern that's going on inside. I can try to attune them to whatever is going on with them, and at the same time, it's then there for them to take off and run with and try to figure out what is going on inside me and how do I now learn to cope with it, and what healing mechanisms can I bring about in my own life to deal with these patterns.
Well, and don't you think, I know it seems like every show I bring this up, but it's like it's the same thing. You can lead the horse to water, but you can't force him to drink, and all that stuff. It's like you can open people up and you can show them, okay, this is where it's at, this is what's going on with you, what is underneath that, like the headaches and this and that, those are all symptomatic of what's really underneath it. So it's like,
yeah.
You have to be willing to kind of drop back in and go, okay, yes, I can take a pill, or I can do this, or I can do that, and yes, that is going to alleviate whatever's happening right in that second, like you said. And sometimes I do believe that that's necessary, because sometimes when you're so buried in your shit, you can't pull your head out. It's like you just, no matter how much you try, no matter how many mantras, no matter this, no matter that. And so sometimes just getting that little extra push can help you. It can really open up a whole nother area of where you can push forward and dive deeper and, all of those things. The emotion is brought free. And that's, I hate to be like saying, well, emotion is everything and this and that, because I don't,
I have both sides to me. I'm very analytical, and I have a lot of scientific things about me, and I'm not always the most empathetic person that I, strive to be. And so it's hard for me to say that everything is based in emotion. But when it all comes down, it's like everything that is broken down, everything that I've researched, all when I lay my tools out from my toolbox that I've collected throughout my lifetime, that seems to be what everything is pointed to. But it's...
Yeah, I agree. As a guy, I'm all too willing to be analytical, but I think there's a lot of good in that as well, because it helps one critically think. Is this working? How do I know this is working? Am I actually experiencing helping me?
Oh, I love that you just said that, because that's Bethany and I both. That's like how's that working for you? That's like and it's kind of a bitch thing to say, but it's really not. It's like really putting it in somebody's face. It's like with religion and this and that and all these things that people have been doing for however many years, their lifetimes, hundreds of years, thousands of years. Look at our planet.
Yeah. I can think
it's not working.
Yeah,
Go ahead,
for example, I can think of when I used to get when I was a young boy, and a couple of times I was in incredible pain, and I remember my grandmother coming in with her quote unquote, fix for me, which was to heat up oil and to soak cotton balls and gauze in this oil, and then I would go to bed and I would lie, with my affected ear, the painful ear down, and in this oil, and then the pain would go away. I wasn't taking medicine from the doctor. No one would come to her home, but somehow this was helping me. And so, there's certainly I was now experiencing her suggesting something I would do. Of course, I was young enough that she would quote unquote make me do it, right? But it actually,
yeah.
Right. Are we still echoing here? I hear my voice.
I don't know. It's like if we get dead air for a second, but I'm still hearing it, and I don't know if other people are hearing what we're hearing in the background. I don't know.
I kind of hear echo. It sounds like it's coming from here. I don't know.
So, what I came to notice over time is that not only people that I was treating, whether it was acupuncture or body work or whatever, but also within my own challenges personally, that there was always something still left over to figure out, to sort out, what am I missing? And it was only when I really, truly faced all of the patterns of my life. Why does this scenario, this particular situation keep presenting itself in my life? And I would try to understand the energetic pattern, which always came down to emotion.
And that's what people, I hope that, and that's, I want to get this across so heavily, because emotion is energy. And that's not like just a hocus pocus. I mean, it's like it truly, the function of a peptide and the way that things work is that it literally, the emotion it's a generator. And so it's like, as it's producing and it's doing all of the things that it is made to do, it's like a base of our reality. And if we are dove into the things that are trapped in the body, which seem to only be the traumas and the sorrows and the things that are suppressed, like nobody seems to really have a ton of issues, and maybe some do and I haven't experienced yet, of suppressing happiness.
Exactly. People are all too willing to feel joyful or happy, right? Yeah, like, let's go on a roller coaster, right? It sounds so fun. No one says, oh, let's go feel a bunch of fear and anger.
Exactly. Yeah, because that's caca. Nobody wants to do that, And But here's the kick, and here's where, like, I tell people it's like this. Yes, you get to go to the amusement park and you get to have this great fun and this and that, but when you go home, if you're not going to bed happy and you're not waking up happy every day, like, what are you doing? Like, to me, that is what it's all about. And if you're not accomplishing that, then something needs to be different. Because if we're all waking up in happiness and we're going to bed that way every single day, the crap on the planet will dissolve. It's like we don't need to put our focus or our attention into other things, right? It's like this is it.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. That really resonates with me as well. Yeah.
And it's also, and one of the things I want to bring up, and this is so great that too, like you were saying, like you were talking about like your clients and different things, the people that you deal with. One of the things that I find, and sometimes I love it and sometimes I really freaking hate it, is that whatever I'm going through or whatever I need to really look at, I can guarantee that my clients in the next 10 days, every single one is going to show up with that exact thing. Like however it shows up, whatever story it is,
right.
It'll be a different, you know what I mean?
The same.
It's like really, it's so, and that's why, like I laugh about it because it's like the universe shows up. I don't care if you want it to, if you don't want it to, if you're not aware of it, if you are aware of it, it shows up. And so it's like when I have something going on or I'm looking at something, bam, there it is. It's like I will see it in every single direction, and it's always 10 times easier to point it out in everybody else. Like I can go there.
Yeah, one thing I would notice with regards to this, like you're suggesting that things would show up that are going on within you is, struggling with anger for many years of my life, I would find myself feeling angry, but instead of knowing what to do with that, I would externalize it. I would pick on a fat person crossing the street and go, why would they be fat? Look at that fat person. But it was but why did I feel angry? I didn't know this person. I don't even know who they are. They're just walking across the street. There's many fat people. There's many
and what do you care, right?
That,
yeah, like why does it have anything to do with you? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get it because that's the whole thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think, and here's the whole thing about that. As you think about that, like you're holding, like, like when the front lobe of the brain, when you actually come into full development in your body, it's almost like what kind of some piece of you comes back in and is like what kind of person that you want to be. But these residues or these fragmentations, these holding spots, these peptide, whatever, we can give it 10 million definitions. Whatever that is that's projecting out and pulling in our reality, that is the base, right? So when you're holding this anger down inside the body, even if you're not projecting it out in your daily life, like you're meeting your friend and going, hey, fuck you, I hate you, but it's like it's projecting out in other areas. And this is where I talk about so people are so scared to really dive into that or really take a look at it, but they're living it anyway. Right? Like even if they're pretending like they're not, or even if they're not like existing in it every day, the people that come into their existence will be answering that ad. They'll be coming in and creating that same vibration that you're projecting out consciously or not. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much so. For me, it reminds me of the people I chose to hang out with in high school. I transitioned from Catholic school into public school. And suddenly I had to develop a new group of friends because the people that I had previously gone to school with were no longer in my life. Like almost all of them were just gone overnight. And so what I found is that the people who I chose, suddenly again I was in public school, so there were all these different cliques. And I could identify them by what they were wearing and the music they listened to. And it was like walking into an ice cream store and saying, which flavor am I going to hang out with? And I chose, overwhelmingly, the rough and tough crowd who was smoking cigarettes, smoking lounge, and just getting into lots of trouble and lots of fights, which has mirrored my own experience at the time, via my home life and whatever I was struggling with.
Exactly, and the vibration, you were vibrating at that.
Right, exactly. I was vibrating that way. So, of course, I drew a whole crowd of people into my life who were also vibrating the same frequency.
Bam. Yeah. And that's one of the things that you really have to be conscious even in looking at, like, now, I guess once you come to a certain awareness, or I don't even know if I don't like that term really, but it's like I've come to a place of where I have to realize what it is that I am projecting out on a constant basis. Like even this evening, like with the computers and all that kind of stuff, when I start projecting out like crap about not having the things that I want, or going into lack, or any of this kind of stuff, I'm not putting it out there that it's going to be manifested in a way that is creative and wonderful and like making my tummy feel good. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, when I allow those kind of things to affect me, all of a sudden I'm hit into, well, that's projecting out and pulling in, projecting out and pulling in. That's not rectifying the situation. And I think that this is where I think that the reason that this happened is because I needed it brought straight in my face so that I could express it to other people, because it's happening so much quicker now. It's like it used to be that you'd project something out and it almost was like in slow motion. It would come back whenever that person, however fast or whatever, was moving for them. But with the energies that are hitting the planet, it's like when you're projecting it out, it's going to come right back almost immediately and slam you right in the face, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I've experienced that so many times I honestly couldn't even count.
Well, it's like walking it all the time for me, and this is where I've really come to a place of realizing that I always get like, I don't want to be somebody's guru. I want to make it very clear that I am not somebody to follow, right? I am a teacher of masters. I will teach masters how to master themselves, because that's what I do. Some will exceed me, some will not, some will go whatever direction that they need to, but that's my purpose, I feel, on this planet, is to, I don't know how else to put it, a teacher of masters. That's all it is. And so it's like in really taking myself into a place of I can only take people where I am willing to go. And
exactly. You said it right
yeah.
there. We can only be anyone else in the world as far as we currently are right now in the present.
That's it. And it doesn't matter. And so that's why it's like sometimes when I get into Miss Know-It-All, or I get into, I Miss Perfect Pants, that's what I like to say, because sometimes I go there. And so when I get into Miss Perfect Pants, I get a jolt in the face, right? Like, hey, you know what? I'm no better and no different than anybody else on the planet. For whatever reason, I have been given a gift or a responsibility. Is another piece of that, and that is the ability to see energy, to understand it, to tap into the universe, to be in connection with the planet Earth and all of the things that are in existence. We all are, but some are aware,
right,
some aren't.
and more than likely, and I can speak from right. Sounds like somebody helped you get to these points.
Well, and that's exactly it, and it's so yes, and that's we were talking about that earlier, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I get so excited.
Again, that our parents helped feed us when we were too small to feed ourselves. So just this basic idea that no one really gets to where they are by themselves.
And that's exactly yes.
Good,
and how awesome
good
is
and
that?
bad all along the way.
Exactly. And sometimes, it's like this work. It's one of those things where sometimes it's not fun on either side. I'll be working with a client and they're diving into something that, I've obviously contracted to go through with them, but it's not that fun for me. Like, it's not making me full of joy. It's like I'm tapping in as well, right? Because it's not about them for me, right? They're not doing it to me. I'm not tapping into them, right? It's my own energetic field that's being tapped into by whatever energy is being projected, because I'm choosing to connect in. So it's like, I'm sorry, I kind of get lost in my thoughts when I start, kind of touching in, because it's one of the things, like even with you right now, like I can, like touching into your body and just kind of feeling the energetic charge, it kind of slaps me, you know, I don't know how to describe it. It kind of is, it's not a bad thing, but it's because you're charged and because your body is at a point where you are starting to project heavily, like in manifestation and in your own consciousness and reality, it's blasting. Which is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll share something from my own experience, which was, it was about 2006. I was in Chinese medical school, and I came to a really heavy, dark period in my life, and so I reached out to find someone to help me. And I met an amazing man who, by the name of Raymond, in Portland, Oregon. And he taught me all about emotion. And one of the first things he taught me is that no one makes anyone feel anything. We all use that verbiage, oh, they make me angry. Oh, you know, and we also blame others.
Right.
I feel angry at him, right? It's always about victim, perpetrator. It creates this duality that ultimately us from ourselves, from facing whatever's going on in our own inner landscape. So I remember initially being presented with this idea, and I just thought it was verbiage, you know, oh, he's just picking on my words. And then when he really showed me what underlying was going on in the words, I had an amazing opening personally, emotionally.
Well,
because
and here's,
again,
I love. Sorry.
People, I can remember seeing animals or just inanimate objects that would cause me to feel anger, and I couldn't make sense of it. You know, let's say it wasn't a fat person this time, or someone screaming at me at a red light or something. Well, how the hell did a dog trigger me to feel anger, right? What is this dog all powerful making me feel something? So again, it's something going on in us, and we externalize it as that asshole.
Oh, yes, exactly right. Well, and that's one of the things too. Like people will come to me and they'll say, well, this person is not, like, whoever they're in a relationship, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, they're just not getting it. Right? Like, I just keep trying to help them. And again, it always turns back to, no, take a look at what's really happening here. What you're really trying to do is help yourself, right? But it's in avoidance. And so whatever you're seeing in someone else, if you're tagging it in them and you're seeing the emotion in them, right, whatever that is, like if they're not cooperating, they're not awake, they're not this, they're not that, it's what you're feeling about yourself in some situation, in some area, in something that's important to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't even see it in someone else.
Exactly. You wouldn't be triggered. If somebody calls me a name and I don't have an emotional response to that, it simply implies that I'm okay with myself in with whatever way. If they call me stupid, but I don't feel like I'm stupid, then there's really there's no emotional charge there for me.
And that's exactly, see, that brings up the other, like, awesomeness point about this work, is the cellular somatic work and the energetic work, is that what happens is when you dive into these seeds that are planted in the body and they release and they come out, right, and they're no longer generating, it's literally like you don't have to do anything. Like, it just is literally like erased off your ad. It's not like you don't have to. That was another thing, like, maybe it's because in some ways I'm kind of lazy like this. I was always looking for it. It's got to be easier. It's got to be a way that we are in creation, and it doesn't have to be difficult. It's made easy for, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I've always thought that as well.
Yeah, and don't you think that this is kind of, I mean, even though it sucks when you're going through it, it's like, honestly, like, but you're living it like, if you're living it anyway, and then you go through it one time and then it doesn't happen anymore, like, to me, that seems like a no-brainer. You know, it's like, okay, if I can go into the spot where this energy is holding it, I can release the energy, and then I can remap it, right? So then it's reconnecting that energy and filling it back up with something else. And this is another important part of, so, like, after somebody goes into the emotion that's the crappy part, right, taking them into a place of where they've had a good vibration, right, and remembering that so that it shoves back into that receptor. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because that's an important,
for me,
Go ahead, sorry.
I can relate it to Chinese medicine. When I started to learn about the meridians within the body and lung, large intestine, and we break them all up into organ pairs, if you will. But it's really one continuous meridian, if you will. What I began to learn is that it really is about, it's no different than a still puddle of water. It starts to collect dirt and dust, and then bugs land in it. And there's nothing discharging this stagnant energy or water in this case. So we have to do something to clear it out to let it fill back up, yeah? So
and that's where, yes.
I've never been into wearing jewelry on myself, but I was always fascinated by people who could wear jewelry. And I always came up with this image in my mind, which is I would see people wearing a ring, usually women, because usually the ring for women has some kind of jewel. Not only the gold band, but really when you look at the band and then you see those, I don't know what they're called, sorry, but they look like claws to me and they're holding the jewel on top of the ring. Yeah, for me it was very much like that. It's like we're hanging on to this thing in the cellular receptor and it doesn't want to let go. We have to break those little hands off of the jewel and just let it shift.
Well, it's like, and here's the thing, is that if you look around, it's not like, and it's not even probably the people that we're touching, like they probably are getting it, but it's like if you look around at our planet and you look around at the people that are, that are here, how many people actually even know or even have any clue that they have receptors in their body?
Yes. Exactly.
Honestly, like that's not something that's taught to you in school.
No.
Yeah.
But it should
be. My own mother is a trained Western psychologist and family and counseling therapist, if you will. And I can remember her trying to help people. And sorry, I'm losing my train of thought at the moment.
That's okay. Your mother being a psychologist and how that really, like, the idea and the training that she goes through and the things that happen for her and what she's,
You were just saying, Sherry, again, if you could repeat it real quick.
I was talking about how that in the idea of things, it's like when we fall into a certain place, right, and we have these ideas of like these holdings in our body and what the receptors are actually doing, right? Then it's like people don't. It's like you're not taught in school. You're not taught how these things work. And so, like I said, how many people on the planet even know that the receptors, what a receptor is, but that they run through the entire body and in our manifestation? Like, how many people know that?
Yeah. You just reminded me. Thank you. When I was in Chinese medical school, we're trained by various physicians, Western doctors, a lot of Chinese doctors trained in China, and we're also trained by a lot of naturopathic doctors. And what I love about naturopathic doctors is they really present sort of a bridge between both Western and Eastern medicine, and they also, beyond that, they also provide a lot of statistical and actually analyze data, if you will, in terms of what's going on. So one thing I really learned was this, and this is why I was referring to my mother and or any sort of Western trained psychologist or psychiatrist, is this. If we look at how a psychiatrist deals with someone who is altered mentally, usually depressed or something like that with PTSD, what they're doing is they're offering this person typically some kind of pharmaceutical medication that deals with serotonin uptake receptors in the brain. But by listening to naturopathic physicians and the data they present, is that something like 85% of all serotonin receptors within the human body are actually in the stomach. Okay? And so when we look at the stomach within Chinese medicine, energetically and spiritually, it's about receiving. right? It's about
Hello?
taking in good. So food goes. This is where we're trying to receive nutrition from. And so it makes sense that most of the receptors for feeling good are not in the brain. Hello, they're in the stomach, where we're trying
Ooh.
to receive so much in our life.
Makes so much sense now.
It
Yeah,
does,
I mean,
and that
and
just
it
makes
is
me
true.
so happy. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. I'm sorry, but I love to hear this because this is exactly, this is exactly what I've been trying to say to people in a way that I didn't really even understand myself, you know? It's like, it's not about, I knew that it was true, right? Like, I have this, when I see into people, I can guarantee, like, almost, I would say probably 75% of the people that I touch into, it's first in the belly, right? It goes in. It's in the chest. It's in the belly. It's in the throat, right? And then it subleases. That's funny. Anyway, it goes into other areas like the knees and the joints and those kind of things. But it starts almost always in the belly, which would make so much sense if think about like how people eat. Like how messed up the food is, right? Like it's, you know, I've been saying, and I read this statistic, and I just about, like, it made me fall over because 60% of the population is dying of malnutrition. What? There's not 60% of people that are in poverty. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's people, it's everyday people, Joe Schmo, they're eating the foods at the grocery store that are not getting the nutritional value that their body needs. They're not getting what they need. Their bodies are like just not getting it. So it's like, what does that mean? Does that mean that the foods are not good? Does that mean that we need to do all these different things? Yes, that is a product of it. But in most cases, what I see is the absorption is shut down. It's like the water base. You know, you'll read things that say, well, people are drinking too much water and it's making them sick. Well, what's happening is that it's not really like the process. It's not a flushing. It's like sitting in the body. It's like flooding it, right? So that's not good, and that's where there's so much holding that it can't get through, right? But how do you deal with that? You take citrus, you break down, you put it in acid so that it can break it down, you know, because it's become a literal physical in the body. Right, those receptors produce and manifest and are creating the same as what the lining and everything is doing in the body. I just kind of went on a rampage there.
Oh, no, that makes sense. You have to introduce something, if you will, like you're suggesting citrus, to instill some sort of movement within the body. It's like it's a vibration. Something has to start moving.
That's right.
And via the vibration, that helps shift everything and helps you start to sort out what's necessary and nutritional, if you will, in the case of food, and what isn't.
Right. That's right.
You know, which is actually the next it's the next physiological place that food goes, which is the small intestine. Okay? So again, in Chinese medicine, sorry to keep coming back to that, Chinese medicine energetically is about feeding and integrating whatever is coming into the body. So that makes sense. The food comes into the stomach, and now it's like, okay, what's going on? Now it's being shipped to UPS center, you know, and it has to be packaged into, okay, this is going to this neighborhood, this is going to this neighborhood, and it's trying to make sense of what's coming into the body. Yeah.
And if it's solid crap, you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, well, so now we only have 2% of something that we can use, and everything else has to go somewhere. And then people are like, God, I don't know why I'm fat. I don't know why my liver is messed up. I don't know why my gallbladder doesn't work. It's like the body is overloaded with the things that it cannot use. It's not because we're lazy or because we're eating all this fat. Because, I mean, if you think about it, like the good old boys, you know, they're eating bacon-fried everything. But they're working their asses off all day long. So they're pushing, the blood is flowing through the body constantly. You're sweating out all the crap that it doesn't need, and there is still nutrition at that time, I guess, in the cowboy days or whatever you want to call it. There's still nutrition in the food, so you're not just crapping it all out, literally. Ha.
Yeah, movement is key. Movement is key. That's why, I think most people can recognize that the more they move, the healthier they are. And it's the same, it's reflected internally as well. Because, it's funny, I have a roommate who will tell me about his father's diet. And he's shocked because his father, honestly, he says that my father eats three things. He eats snowballs, beef jerky sticks, and Dr. Pepper. He suggests that 90% of his dad's dietary intake consists of these three things, right? It's like he's at a monster truck show. That's all they have, right? But he also suggests how his father is very physical. He works in framing and building homes. And it's really interesting because as a physician, I look at that and I say, wow, that's really fascinating because obviously this guy's swinging hammers and doing this very physical thing. And as soon as he stops moving that much, his dietary intake will become really, really problematic.
And that's something, but see, think about this. And this is the thing. Like from a doctor's point of view, I get exactly what you're saying, right? And you're right. Because that's how people believe. But here's the thing, is it doesn't have to be like that. Like this guy, like let's say, it's like if he were never exposed to anything, right? Let's say that's all he had in his life was beef jerky and these freaking nasty snowballs and Dr. Pepper. Okay, good. So that's all he has, and he gets out there and he works every day, and he doesn't even know not to work every day until he dies. Do you see what I'm saying? Maybe he lives to be 125. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about it's about the way that our body energetically takes in what we're doing. It doesn't matter. And like you said, if he all of a sudden wasn't going to work, it may not be necessarily that it's because he's all of a sudden inactive. I mean, that is part of it because of how we function, but it could also be that it's like literally, like what would he have to live for? Do you see what I'm saying? All of a sudden then the whole purpose of everything loses what his life is about whatever he's doing, and if that stopped or ceased for him, his life would possibly cease.
Yeah, it's like
and
the will is
removed.
removed.
That's a lot of people. Right.
Yeah.
And think of how many people experience that. And look at the baby boomers, because that's huge. Yeah, the baby boomers they're working till they die, it seems. Look at who's running the country.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's like usually in most cases in the past you have new generations that are coming in, but we haven't experienced a lot of that because people are they've lived a long time, and there's different technologies, and there is all this health stuff, and the doctors are doing great things. Don't get me wrong, like I don't want to ever take away that kind of stuff because it has advanced us in a way that is probably opening up for people to even be able to understand what it is that I'm talking about. And it's like, and I guess this is where it's like it's important that people kind of, whatever it is that you need for yourself, find it, look for it, and if it doesn't work, then move on. Find something else.
Yeah, discard it. You need to discard it, yeah. And things can work for a while, and then they stop working because they're just, everything is a tool just to get you to the next step, if you will. So, yeah.
Right.
Even things that we want to cling, okay, this is the solution, may or may not be temporary, and then we learn to release them. Again, there has to be movement. You can't hang on to that little jewel ring forever, potentially.
Well, and I think it's great that, one of my favorite sayings is that the only thing in life that you can count on is change, right? Because no matter what you think is reality, and no matter what you think is of truth, something can walk in, hit you in the head, you can read it in a book, whatever it is, to totally change that reality in 3 seconds. It's like, and it doesn't matter what it is on this planet, right? You can be the richest person, you can be the deepest in love, you can be all of these things, and it can change and manifest in seconds. So it's about like really taking in and realizing, I think, like being the creators that we are and allowing and accepting the things that are coming in through our bodies, because for whatever reason, these are the things that we've come to experience. And this is an emotional realm. It's the 3D. It's the physical place. But like you said, like we've said, there's a reason that the atom and these receptors and all of these things that are happening and in motion and in creation, there's a reason that they're the way they are. And it's not just like, we're put here.
There's a quote that I really like, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting who it's by, but it says, if it's comfort you seek, life is not the place for you, which is strictly implying life is going to be an endless series of change. I'll get used to it.
And here's the thing. Pain, and this is where, like, I love to get into this kind of stuff, because pain is such a, and I just got into this with Bethany, in fact, is that pain is a perception. Because here's the thing, and I'm not talking about physical pain. If people have physical pain, that is not something that they should have to deal with, and I have empathy for that, and I hope that is not manifested in their life, right? But when we're talking about emotional pain and things like that, every single time it's a gift. It's like, and I'm not saying that it doesn't suck, because it does, right? When you're crying and you feel bad and you feel alone and you feel all these things, it's like if somebody else is making you feel that way, like if you're in a relationship and somebody leaves you, or you're in a relationship and you realize that it's not working, or you're in a relationship and they're mean to you, or this or that, or whatever it is, it's there because that's what your life is. They're answering your ad no matter what it is. I don't care how much you don't like to look at it. I don't care how much you think it doesn't relate. I guarantee every single time that it does. And it's what we manifest because it's like we want to know it. We want to look at it. We want to feel it. And if it's stuck in us, that's what we're going to do. And if we're conscious of it, we're going to let it go.
Yeah, not only things that appear to be, I agree totally with what you're saying in that, yeah, exactly. Things that we initially perceive as painful have something to teach us. Even things that we initially perceive as good, let's say when you're a child, everyone wants to wake up and find 5 inches of snow on the ground and have school canceled, right?
Right, exactly.
But then it might snow so much that you're left with shoveling the driveway or having to go back to school the next day. So it's enjoyable for a while, but even something that we all really want to have happen and we see as quote-unquote good has an alternate side.
Bam! And that's what's so... Yes, and see, this is where, so like to me, this is where I tell everybody, okay, so you see both sides, right? Like you get that part, right? Like you really get it. So now this is where you step outside of each side of the box and you come into the middle of the scale, right? Because you realize that, I love this part because it's like, this is where your creation and your manifestation and your reality really is in projection. Like you said, like having to shovel and having to do this and having to do that, right? Well, let me tell you that if you're in real manifestation and creation, like for me, I always manifest that my neighbor with the snowblower, he always really wants to come and shovel my driveway and all my walkways the whole way around. He loves to do that. And I love for him to do that. Right? So those kind of things can happen too. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like there's always, it doesn't have to be anymore, right? It's like it's always in our perception. So like for me, if it snows really super heavy and everybody's out and we're going to do that, well, then we're going to play all day in the snow because the guy's going to come over with the snowblower and he's going to do all the work and he's going to be so happy that he contributed too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's my grown-up self. But like, you know, it's like we have this thing in us where we have been taught that we have to take both, right? Like that and it's not that there isn't both. There is. There is always. But we can choose to always go on a different path. It's like, and we can look at things differently too. Like now as an adult, and not always as a kid, I will say this, not always as a kid, but like for me, when I do end up having to shovel the walk, or there's been times that happens, I'm like, you know what the truth is I need to get off my ass. I need some exercise. You know? And so if I can stay in that frame of mind,
right, I need to.
Then
yeah.
Yeah, well then if I can stay in that frame of mind and I don't mind doing it, usually somebody else comes out and helps me.
Yeah, and I think you raised an important point, you know, when you mentioned being a child, because, you know, I think it's really difficult for us as adults to reflect back on being a child. For example, almost no one can remember being 3 years or younger, right? When we're imprinted
Right.
with so many energetic
Yes.
patterns, and what we also have to go further in our own understanding to realize is that we don't have the wherewithal when we're little children. Our ego, you know, we're so self-focused. We're absorbing everything. We're learning language, and we're not being taught language formally, right? So our
Right,
world
it's how we're
is so
supposed to work.
small.
Right.
We're so fragile. All we can do is absorb. We can't really
Right.
externalize and go, wait, this doesn't make sense. We're just absorbing it all. So then suddenly we're older, and all we know is we're experiencing discomfort. And then we're blaming ourselves because we assume it's our fault, when we can't realize, there were adults around me who were behaving in a crazy manner and imprinting me.
Bam. And here's, yes, and you're so right. God, I'm glad that you brought that up too. Ooh, this is so great. It's like, because this is another part of the cellular somatic work, and it's like, at first, when I first started doing it, I'll be honest with you, it was difficult for me because I had already dealt with my mommy and daddy issues so many freaking times. And I was like, this is, you know, I felt like, you know, it wasn't going to do much or whatever. And when I actually like fell into it and looked at it and, like you said, actually fell back in, because see, here's the thing about it. Your mind doesn't remember, but your body does. That energetic holding, it remembers. And it remembers the age. And this is where, so in the work, when I'm working with somebody, I'll tell them, as if they're having, you know, as soon as they start to feel into the body, right? I'll say, okay, so let's say that they're experiencing sorrow. Okay, so when they start to feel the sorrow, I will drop them straight into the body, and I'll say, okay, where is that at? Where do you feel anything? And it can be, you know, that their stomach is gurgling, their arm starts to hurt, the leg starts to hurt, anything that goes on that is not there in the beginning. And so then as soon as they feel into that and I start to get them really to feel into the emotion of it, I have them immediately, what I'll say is, now I want you just to, in your mind's eye, drop down and look at your feet. Right? Tell me how old you are. Because the feet, like the mind, is already in that space, right? It's in that vibration. You've taken the consciousness there. And so by looking down at the feet, it automatically will tell the person they'll get an age, 3, 2, a baby, whatever it is. And I've actually had people go all the way into the womb and other lifetimes. Right?
Yep,
and I don't
as well.
Yeah, and so, I mean,
the other part.
Go ahead.
No.
So kind of talk about that a little bit, because that was you did experience it, and that was a big deal for you, because there was a lot that was going on in your birth time.
What you're sharing right now for me reminds me of walking into a library, if you will. The library, all the card catalog, all the books is the body. And when all too often we want to walk up to the librarian who's at the desk and say, hey, how do I find such and such? And that's our mind, that's our ego, and we're trying to figure it out via, talking to this person, and they may only have so much time or clarity as to what we're actually looking for. When really we need to get into the card catalog and dig around with our fingers and feel what we're looking for.
That's right. And that's one of the things, and that's when, you talked about when you watch that video and I'm tapping in, right? It's not that I have learned not to project in as much, right? All I do is just put a slight energetic charge into it so that it can be brought easier to the consciousness. Does that make sense? It's like, because it's something that has been stagnant, like you said, and so by giving it a little charge, it brings it to the consciousness, and it helps that person kind of fall even into it a little easier. And so, Bethany, I want you to describe how that was for you, because that's really an important thing, and I think other people will understand maybe a little more if you describe how it happened for you, because it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, well, sorry about that. For me, I always thought it was from like another lifetime, and all this bad stuff was happening because I had done something bad in another lifetime and I deserved it. And so through doing this process, I could start, like, because like Garrett said, you don't really remember being a kid, right? Like, even me, I'm 23, but I have like big chunks that I couldn't remember. But doing this, then I could see like the little feet at 3 years old, and it was at like 1 year old, and then it was like blackness, like I was in the womb.
Yeah, and think about, and I remember this. It's like the emotion that you had at that time. One of the things that happens, and this is where the generational tie comes in, and the energetic mother, and all of this stuff. This is where the bond comes in, and this is why, honestly, it's always the mother, and it's always fear, right? And as a mother, I don't like to hear that, I'll be honest with you. But it's the base, because that's where we start. That's where our atoms, that's where our creation, that's where we manifest. And so the first energetic charge that we have is from the mother. Those are the first expectations that we have are of the mother. And so it's all of these things that come into play that create the trauma, and then it's added on by the father, whether he's present or not. It doesn't matter, because the child creates whatever it is about the situation about them. So if the father's not present, there's a reason that child feels they did something, or they should have done something, or they blame then they're in blame of the mother. There's all these dynamics that come out of it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it makes sense just from a really basic understanding. We're born from the mother, right? So we have 9 or 10 months that we're inside our mother. And then even once we come out of our mother, we're receiving nourishment from the mother via her breasts, right? All of this is critical. So if the mother is really attuned and has dealt with her own things, it has a big impact on the child. And I agree. The father is important also, but not nearly as important as the imprinting via the mother.
It is, and it's interesting because, believe me, when I first started doing this work, I was more than happy to take people to the father. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds so shitty, but it's like, let's blame him, right? That was never it.
No, it doesn't sound shitty at all. Actually, in coming to my, and sorry to interrupt, but in coming to my understanding about both of my parents, in my 20s, I immediately latched on to my father. Oh, he was either numb, tuned out, or really rageful and super angry. He was easy to focus on. It was really overt.
Exactly.
It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I came across some really important information via my brother, who shared it with me, about borderline personality. And when I started to read this website with this woman's information, it was like this woman had crafted a story about my mother. And my mother, again, is a master's degree holding psychologist and therapist, right? So it was even more difficult to find her. And so what I came to learn via reading this information is that my mother is behaviorally crazy. She is a borderline personality person. And then underlying all that, how it occurred via the mother, I was like, holy shit. It wasn't my father who was so much impactful and, if you will, quote, messed up, but it was my mother, even more so.
That's how it's always, and believe me, as a woman and as a mother, and as a daughter and all these things, like it's always difficult for me, well, and I don't want to say really difficult, but it's like I don't really like to always go there, because it's like, it seems so unfair, but it's like, it's so true, because it comes down to, you'll find so many people that are having children, women that are it's beyond implanting, right? Because the only reason that I'm digging on that term is because when people hear implant, they're still going outside themselves, right? They're like thinking that somebody's like putting something into them, which is true, but it's like it's the way that we manifest, right? It's not like somebody's sticking it in there for us. Right? It's in the energetic field, and so we're attaching it into our being. And my question is, and this is where I believe that we are actually, as beings, before we enter the body, we're attracted to the vibration that's already happening in the womb. Does that make sense?
Sorry, I think I lost you there at the end. I heard most of it, and yes,
well,
I agree.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Is that it's like
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so it's like, I mean, if you think about it, when we're in this energetic vibration, like however we leave the body that we were in before or wherever we're at, whatever that vibration is that's still in our essence, I think that somehow when we're reborn, if we haven't cleared, right, it's like it comes back into the body, because I think that people experience the same things after lifetime, and they believe, or it has been believed, that that's a karmic debt, but really what it is it's like an attachment. It's like an energetic, like it's like an energetic piece that just won't let go, you know. And it's not really karma. It's not really like you deserve it or anything like that. It's just this piece that has been connected to us, fragmented, but then somehow in our creation of reality, right? So when we come into the womb, we come into these beings that are going to manifest the best release, the most evolution, the this, the that, whatever it is for that time, because it seems like so many light workers experience their mothers are either have serious brain psychosis, they're narcissistic, they're all of these different things, but it's almost like it took that to show or to bring to a place the people that are on the planet now of understanding or something. I don't know.
To wake up.
It's like,
yeah, it's like a backpack we keep wearing from life to life until we choose the right life that really brings it right in front of us.
And you don't have a choice. It's like, and here's the great thing. It's like, well, and it sucks, but it's good, right? It's like the time of now, right? Like when we talk about the vibrational shift on the planet and we talk about Venus coming into play and the reaction of now and how everything moves, and I know I talked about this in the last show, and I hope that people really like check this out, because it's like I'm not joking about it. If you fill up your sink with water, it used to be that you would put your finger in the middle, you would tap in, and it would flow out, it would hit the sides, and then it would flow back in. Right? And you can watch videos on like old drops of water and different things from like the 70s, and you'll see that happen. Right? And now when you do that, literally you put your finger in, it vibrates out, it hits the side, and it goes away. It does not vibrate back in. Right? And it's because the energetic shift, the way that things are actually vibrating now, everything is in evolution, it is pushing forward. It's like it's in creation, and it's not in karmic. The time of karmic debt is over, right? That's not a farcity. That's not a joke. That's not like something somebody made up, and it's not somebody who was like, okay, you guys have been good now. No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with that everything changes, and as evolution and as the vibration on the planet has been of this karmic vibration, like what we project out, we pull in, and how we vibrate out, and being unconscious and all these things, it's like that's how we evolved. But now we're at a place where we can wake up, right? And we can start vibrating from a conscious level. Go ahead, Bethany, sorry.
That's okay. We were talking about being in the womb. I remember that I was the only child born at home, and that right before I was born, the cord was wrapped around my neck. I think that kind of ties into how my life has been, like feeling trapped.
Well, think about that. Right, and then how many times in your life, see, this is what happens, is it's like, and that's why I used you took it back even further, right? Like you took it into the core, because that's where it actually started for you. But it can start for other people so simply, like even people that have it so great, right? Like it's like they can be sitting in the crib for too long, they can be sitting in the high chair too long, they can be, not fed soon enough. All of these dynamics can become a life is if the vibration sticks. So it doesn't matter how many, or it can be very traumatic, right? And this is the thing, like you see some people, like you'll have two boys or two girls that grow up in the exact same dynamic, right? They have the same parents, they're given the same things, everything's the same, blah, blah, blah. And they'll both be totally different people, right? Like one's super successful and one is like a total loser or whatever the deal is, right? And it's because how their perception took in and what their body held, what their life is. You see what I'm saying? So like this is a great example. I know this guy, and this is exactly what happened to him. So him and his brother, they were raised very poor. Their mother was a maid, but she was a maid for these very, very, very wealthy people. And so every day after school, they had to go to this super rich house, and the kids were kind of snotty, and they were brats, and they had to do stuff for them, and the mom was not looked upon great, blah, 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 blah. Well, one of the kids became very resentful of that. He was like, I fucking hate rich people, money sucks, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Well, he created that in his life. The other guy took a look at it, and he was like, you know what? I want to be just like them. I want to do this. I want to do that. This is how it's going to be. This is how I'm going to do it, blah, blah, blah. And guess what? That's what he did. Right? So it's all in perception how we hold things, and it can be, so it's like something has to be like what causes that, I don't know.
So, but like someone in the chat room is asking more about that. Like, how is it held in the tissues of the body? How is it projected out and then back in? Maybe you could explain.
Yeah, Garth has a very good couple questions here, suggesting that so these emotional, energetic patterns they actually manifest in the body, and I think
yes.
This is what Sherry and Bethany are both speaking to. Sorry, I was speaking over you there, Bethany.
Yeah, it's scary. So that's exactly what I'm saying, because it's like, here's what happens is these receptors are not they're not imaginary, right? They're not woo-woo stuff. They're not magic. They're actual receptors that are opening and closing, and then holding. Right, like when that vibration comes in that's foreign or that's suppressed, it's like as soon as it's suppressed, it holds into that receptor and then it manifests. Right, it duplicates, it becomes bigger, it grows more massive. That's where then you're projecting out and pulling in, but you're also creating sickness at the same time. It's like it's not like I don't even like the term sickness. You're creating something that then becomes more solid in the body. And when it becomes solid, it has a hard time generating and moving the energy that it's supposed to. And that's what the vessel's purpose is, right? Projecting out and pulling in, projecting out and pulling in. That's what we do. That's why we're the time of Atom, ATOM. Right?
ATOM. I can remember, either of my parents walking into a room, let's say I'm watching TV, and saying, Garrett, do your homework. Or go clean your room. And the longer I refused to do whatever it is they were asking me to do, the more I would hear the request. It's the exact same thing, right? And then eventually I might get up and go, fuck, I'm tired of hearing them. I'm going to go clean my room or do my homework, right? And then, they stopped saying that to me.
Exactly. And not only that, what a relief, right? Like all of a sudden that responsibility, that thing is over. And I love that you said that too, because that's something else. And I deal with this quite often because I am a very stubborn human being. And so one of the things, like and I've learned this in time, when I don't want to do something, like when something comes up for me, like somebody will say, somebody in particular that I won't mention his name, but he keeps telling me this, I need to really do this meditation program because it will really help me in grounding and, kind of advancing myself in that area. And so the first shot in my mind is, I don't want to do that. Like I just have so much resistance in my body. So I know automatically, because I've done this so many times now, I know that's exactly what I need to be doing. Right? Because for some reason we have these resistance to change, to not wanting to do the things that are supposedly so good for us. But if we just push through, then it's like, okay, then the next step. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, and the next step, and the next one.
Yeah, I don't think that, do we really want the staircase to end? Like people keep saying, like, oh, that this is coming, and the evolution and this and that, which, believe me, I'm all there. The evolution, everything is happening. It's happening now. It's not coming. It's not, it's already here. But it's like, there's also this place of where it's like, it's not going to be, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep changing. Things are going to continue to evolve. That's what we want. That's what we do. That's otherwise how boring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can't imagine still watching Scooby-Doo reruns as much as I loved it as a child. Decades later, I'd be like, okay, I've seen this one too many times. The ghost is inside the wall. It's going to chase you amongst all those. Left door, right door. Yeah.
Thelma's always going to know the answer the whole time.
Yeah. Okay, Thelma, yeah. Take your glasses off for once or something, right?
Exactly. You got it down. She's going to lose the glasses at least once.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. And that's exactly right. And that's like how we are. Like that makes me excited because it's like sometimes I get kind of like not discouraged in any way because it's like I've done so much and I've come to a place of where I really do have understanding and I really do the vision and everything that I was given as a child and that I've grown up with. Like I said, I've been able to lay out my toolbox and I do get it now. And so, but that doesn't mean that I don't keep adding to my toolbox. Like, maybe someday I'm going to need a whole shed.
Yeah. For all the tools you're collecting.
That's right, because it's like there's so much.
That's change. That's to deal with change. Yeah. You're going to wind up with a bunch of tools. Sure.
And that's the whole thing. It's like, and I love it, right? Like I got certified in essential oils. I got certified in, the cellular somatics. I got certified in all of these different things that I wanted to learn about because I thought, okay, well, this is going to be, again, another tool to add in, and it all does something. If I start feeling like I'm not feeling good in a certain way, I will take herbs, I will do different things because maybe I'm not eating properly or maybe my vibration isn't the way that it should be to generate properly, and I need that little jolt. And the great thing about herbs and oils is that they know exactly what to do, right? It's like taking an aspirin, right? Like the aspirin knows where to go, so do all these natural things. They just automatically know what they're supposed to do. I think that's very cool.
They have like a built-in intelligence to them, absolutely. And well, even aspirin comes from nature. So few people seem to know that anymore. It's I can't remember the tree that it comes from, but it comes from bark.
Oh, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, absolutely. Something like 60% of all the most prescribed pharmaceuticals all come from nature. The active ingredients.
Isn't that interesting? And so doesn't that make you wonder, like, about, because here's the thing for me, like, I look at the body, right, and I touch into the body, and if somebody's on heavy meds, well, first of all, it almost immediately makes my stomach sick, so that's how I know the vibration, right? It's not like I don't actually see people, whatever they're taking or whatever that is. I just know that vibration because if I take something myself, right, if I take any kind of pharmaceuticals, I immediately throw up. So anyway, when I touch into somebody and I feel that, it almost is like, though, what it does is it causes the body to not be able to absorb. And I've looked this up and I've studied this as much as I am capable of because it gets boring to me, I hate to say, but it's like, it seems that it's the same like when somebody's drinking alcohol, right? The body has a mechanism, a gland, that will shut down absorption so that the rush of alcohol, so that the amount of alcohol does not rush into the bloodstream and kill somebody, right? Like your body does and knows to do that by itself. That's why, so like if you're going to get drunk, drinking a whole bunch of water while you're already drunk, it doesn't really matter. You're still dehydrated. It's not going to, your body's not going to absorb it, so it doesn't really matter. All you're doing is flushing it out. You're just going to, which is fine, but it's not going to make you less drunk. And so it's like, the key is to drink a whole bunch of water before you drink. Anyway, I don't know if I should have. I probably shouldn't have added that part in. But anyway, it's like, so it's the same thing with pharmaceutical drugs. The things that they use, I don't think it's necessarily like the breakdown of the natural part like you're talking about, but the fillers and shit like that they're using in those capsules and even in the plastics that they're using to put capsules in, and they coat it with so that it doesn't taste like shit and blah, 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 blah. All of those things, when it hits the body goes into like, oh, wait a minute. That's going to be too much. Like, that's not going to be good for it. That's, whatever it is, however it talks to itself, and it shuts down the absorption. So people that take meds every single day, even if it's not a pill that is dehydrating, the fillers and the shit that they're taking is. And that's why so many everybody on the planet, when I touch into them, and it's not just from the meds, but it's like a lot of it is, it's like everybody's running around dehydrated all the time. I mean, do you find that? I mean, don't you think that, like, absorption and water is a huge issue? From a doctor's standpoint?
I do.
I'm sorry, I love to throw that
absolutely.
in.
The water helps us. There's so much innate intelligence to water. It just by drinking water, we restore so much balance to ourselves. It allows us to reset ourselves, no matter what we're doing, even if we're drinking a bunch of alcohol, like you're highlighting. It doesn't remove the impact of the alcohol, but it allows us to put reset points within whatever it is we're putting in our body.
Exactly. But what about the absorption? Because see, I always have this thing. And it's kind of, and the reason I focus on this is because I am actually like it's a question that I have, because it does seem like at least probably 98% of the people that I touch into feel like that they need more water to me. And how I know that is because of how the energy flows throughout the body. Because once I touch in, right, then I can move around. And if they're dehydrated, or if there's a lot of surface crap and they're not breathing, it's hard for me to move around. Right? It's like it takes more of my energy. It's like, then I have to put on the boxing gloves kind of thing, and that's not my favorite. So that's why I'm always telling people, like, more water, more water, more water, because energetically, somehow, if I'm able to move around easier, I know that it's helping them to move around easier. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that make sense?
Yep. And then the quality of the water as well, because I noticed once I started drinking, like, clean water, and then I would not drink the clean water for a little bit because I didn't have any or anything, I'd feel horrible, dehydrated, and like I had been drinking all night or something.
Well, that's another thing, is the fluoride and all the crap that they have in the water. And the filtering systems and the things that they're using, it's like I hate to even think of what we're actually absorbing, because even not by drinking it, if you're showering in it, you're brushing your teeth in it, you're washing your hands in it. I mean, your cells and your skin are like your biggest organ in the body, and so it's like really, it's unfortunate that that's what's happening right now, but I think that will come. I think that will cease to exist. But you're right, like that's another thing. If you think about it, and you're drinking tap water and it's got a shitload of fluoride in it, and then whatever bleach and chemicals that they're using, your body's going to shut down. It's not going to absorb those things. It's not going to allow it, because otherwise you'd be dead.
Yep.
Yeah, most people forget that their outer organ, which is the biggest organ in the human body, is the skin. And it absorbs really rapidly. I remember last year reading an article which showed, done in Europe, which showed that they could place a drop of essential oil on the skin, and 10 minutes later it would show up totally just all over the body.
Ooh, I love
inside
that.
the body. I mean, that's that absorbent.
I love that, because that's so true. And that's where, like, so to me, like, I have this thing, and it's kind of, it's like, so one of the reasons that I decided to study the oils was because when I would see the oils being dropped on somebody, like I went to this lady who was just fabulous as far as she knew the exact oils. She would use the pendulum, and she would go through your body, and she'd do all this great stuff, and then she would drop the oils on you. And I would watch, and my kids, because that's who I went and I took them, and I would watch their bodies literally, like it knew like it would go to the areas wherever they were having, and it seemed like whatever emotional stuff, right? It wasn't just about like the physical ailment. Somehow it would actually like go into these areas and allow them to release or like feel like all of a sudden one of my daughters would start acting out, like just being a total, like bleh, bleh, whatever, but then be over it quickly, like it was a total release. Or be super happy and running around and, acting like a maniac. Whatever it was that was stuck in those places where those oils went into, like all of a sudden it was coming out. Because they don't have the layers. The kids don't have the layers that adults do, or at least in most cases. So it's like, that's such an awesome, if you think about that, there's another, like your acupuncture, these oils, all of this stuff, it's such a healing point. And again, which I don't know if I'm supposed to bring this up, but it's like, this is where the hemp oils and things, and it's not about getting high, but it's like using the things that we know are medicinal, and hemp is such a healing facet. It's been shown to cure cancers. It absorbs into the skin, so you don't have to smoke pot. You can use the oils that are from the stems, and I think, in fact, and I need to look this up, and I need to actually pull it up on the web so that I can post it, but if I'm right, it's like there's actually, you actually take the derivative from the stem itself, and that is what people are using to create the cancer-curing ointments or ingestions or whatever it is that they're doing. And so it's like that plant is phenomenal. And so if we can start going back into things that are of nature and that know what they're supposed to do and regenerating our bodies in the way that they're supposed to and allowing things to flow through, and then on the same side, getting rid of the emotions that are clogged, it's like, bam, what are we going to start experiencing?
That sounds like a good idea. Maybe we could post something about water and the benefits of water and the benefits of hemp.
Exactly, because I think that's such a, those are two things that, people I think are questioning. It's coming into, especially where I live in Colorado right now, and in a lot of these areas where, people are still questioning. Well, they've been taught that it's dangerous and this and that, and it's a gateway, and you hear all this crap, and it's like, you don't have to smoke it. You don't have to get high. You can, there's so many other ways, especially people who are experiencing cancer or experiencing things that are not, health bound. They can use the hemp oils. They can ingest it through foods. They can do all of these different things, and it will help them. It allows the body, it opens up these places and allows it to heal itself. It's awesome.
It is. I think we're running out of time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, we're done now.
It's been really fun being here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it was so great. Thank you so much for coming. And I plan on us, having you on often so that we can keep people posted on some of the plans that we have and expanding and kind of bringing all the things that we're talking about together in reality. That's exciting.
Sounds wonderful. Everybody have a nice weekend.
Check us out on our webpage, Elemental Evolution. Our Facebook page, all the places where we hang out and are posting things. We love to hear from everyone, and thank you so much for connecting. Have a great night, everybody.